they're mainly around oriented towards the KPMG contract. I'd like to make now. I just handed them out to you, and I also sent a copy over to Jeff Horseman at the Press Enterprise, so because he's not at the meeting today, to make sure he has these. Here's my comments. It's interesting to note the comments that are being made by many of the supervisorial candidates, with the notable exception of Supervisor Perez, to the press and in their campaign material about the KPMG contract and the county's financial condition. It's a well-known fact for months that at least $50 million in savings have already been achieved on a partially expended $42 million KPMG contract, with likely further savings of $200 million or more. Not one-time savings, but sustainable savings. Now the savings have accumulated to $93 million as we sit here today. For example, and with what Supervisor Washington was referring to, he had the laundry list here, so I'm not sort of going to cover that laundry list in a minute. For example, in the criminal justice system, where $16 million of the $29 million investment that we've spent so far has been spent, the county has implemented many of the 51 recommendations provided by KPMG, as well as conducting 6 pilot programs with promising results across the departments. In addition, for the first time, the county has used data-driven budgets with new data provided by KPMG to change its budgeting priorities and cost recovery models. There's also a considerable amount of work ongoing across all the departments within the county, which will result in additional opportunities for the county to reduce spending in future years. These initiatives are in the beginning phases, and the executive team is working with the departments over the coming months to identify and refine further efficiencies and improvements, such as the cross-system integration initiative spanning health and human services, housing, workforce, and justice departments. Establishing the county performance unit will facilitate the Board of Supervisors and executive officer to track department performance and improve accountability. The Transportation and Land Management Agency is introducing a flat billing model alongside code enforcement to increase cost recovery and reduce case cycle time. Within finance and accounting, recommendations have been made to streamline highly manual and transactional functions across the county and maximize available county funding. Costly human resource systems are being modernized and staffing restructured to streamline access and processes for staff. The fleet, facilities, and procurement effort is maximizing county assets to ensure efficient use of county vehicles, infrastructure, and purchasing power. This KPMG efficiency project developed as a result of a similar highly successful effort to restore our county medical center to fiscal soundness. Remember, 4 years ago, the board approved a $25 million contract with Huron Company to address the operating shortfall of about $4 million a month that had created a fund deficit that had reached $50 million. I remember at that time the same cries, and that time it was the SEIU propaganda machine cried out about the Huron contract, saying the money would be better utilized by raising their salaries and wages. Would you believe this happened during the 2014 supervisorial election? That was an election issue there, and here we were, it was paying off, but everybody was crying, oh, we've wasted this $25 million. As is well known, so I've got some, so I gotta get this slide up here. There we go. As is well known but conveniently forgotten by SEIU and several of their endorsed candidates, as a result of $25 million in consulting contracts with the Huron Group, that the medical center has made a remarkable and quick recovery to fiscal soundness, recovering from a $50 million deficit and piling up more than $80 million in surplus and savings, which have been effectively reinvested to improve and expand operations at the medical center while creating even more high-paying SEIU jobs. The medical center is doing quite well, as evidenced by the elimination of the $15 million funding need you just reported since their last financial report to the board. And as is demonstrated today, the identified sustainable savings to date on the KPMG contract are $93 million, growing weekly on a $29 million spent so far. It's highly likely the county is on course to achieve well over $100 million savings by calendar year end and accumulate more than $200 million savings in sustainable ongoing savings in 2019 and beyond. This will enable this board and future boards to maintain a prudent general fund surplus while providing more funds to maintain and enhance public safety and other county operations. It's common practice for businesses and government to use consultants to help them achieve efficiency and better service to their stakeholders and constituents. The county had worked hard to create savings and efficiencies on their own. The board was not pleased with the speed of the progress of those efforts. Consequently, the board acted upon the recommendation of Supervisors Benoit and Tavoloni to bring in fresh eyes, as we've done successfully with Huron and the Medical Center. As to fiscal management, in 2008, the discretionary funds were $800 million. 10 years ago, they were $800 million. They fell to about $600 million in 1 year due to the Great Recession. 10 years later, as you just saw, the 2018-19 fiscal year, discretionary revenue is estimated to finally return to $811 million after a torturous 10-year comeback. The county has managed to provide excellent public safety protection and provide other public services at a high level during the past 10 years. Due to the prudent surplus it had built up during the good years preceding 2008, coupled with county-driven efficiencies and belt tightening during the last 10 years, which include the Huron contract, which saved the medical center, and the KPMG contract, which is having a profound and growing impact on current and future operations. As we've heard, the state of California continues to wreak harm to our budget by realigning programs like I use the home health services. Thank God we got a 2-year stay on that one, and others, and sending their felons who should be in state prison to our local jails. The state is passing the buck and is treating us like an ATM machine. Mismanagement of CalPERS coupled with stock market losses has resulted in escalating pension costs now and for the next decade. We are making savings due to implemented efficiencies so the future boards can continue to maintain prudent reserves and provide high quality services. This board, this county, led by this board and its management team, has managed to maintain a superior credit rating of AA with Standard & Poor's Credit Agency throughout this whole difficult period. It is irresponsible to make unproven comments and not recognize in fact that the opposite is true due to sound fiscal management, pension reform, controlling labor costs, and other cost-cutting efficiencies enacted by this board for this county, including and not limited to the contracts with Huron and KPMG. The board has a plan in place. It's taking effect and being successfully implemented. We have built our reserves back up to more than $200 million, which is a prudent reserve consistent with board policy. As you heard, it's going to take a lot of work to keep it there, but it's manageable. We've been managing and it's manageable. The county government is a huge operation akin to a large corporation with a $5.5 billion budget and 22,000 employees. Large corporations regularly use consultants to improve efficiency in operations. So must we, along with our own board and staff-driven efficiency efforts which complement the total effort. Shame on you, those who spread false information. I understand it's election season, but you're only doing a disservice to yourself and the citizens of Riverside County. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ashley. Supervisor